What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the garage. Gerald here with you. Of course, the Film Independent Spirit Awards are always one of my most enjoyable award season broadcasts that we get every year. I just love the kind of laid back nature of it, but a lot of the A-list celebrities, especially the ones that are nominated, still show up every year. I guess unless you're Kieran Culkin. We'll talk about that a little bit. I watched the Spirit Awards tonight on YouTube, which, by the way, is really cool that they stream it on their YouTube channel, essentially, and IMDb also partners with them and streams it on their YouTube channel at the same time. So it's very accessible, where that didn't used to be the case. You used to have a cable package, you used to have to get a free trial to IMDb TV, and then you had to cancel the free trial. So I really like that it's become more accessible the last few years for us fans, especially out here on the East Coast. I just wanted to do a quick recap. Typically speaking, historically speaking, the Spirit Awards can't really be thought of as a precursor for the Academy Awards. Now, especially this year, that's more prominent than ever because obviously voting ended for the Academy Awards last week, and due to the scheduling getting kind of mixed up, the Spirit Awards and the Screen Actors Guild Awards, which will be happening on tomorrow night as I'm sitting here, both happening after the Academy Awards voting has ended. That's not always the case. So every once in a while, a Spirit Awards winner will be able to give a speech or have a surprise win that shows support for a performance that was maybe thought to be an underdog. That could boost it in the Academy votes. But that's not going to be the case this year. However, what the Spirit Awards can tell us or give us a little insight in is the reception or the love for certain projects that were in this group that may also be in the Academy's group of nominees. I'm not going to touch on every single award that was handed out tonight. This is just going to be a short recap, but let's start with a couple of the big ones, which would be the Best Feature, essentially Best Movie, and Best Director. And the reason I want to talk about those is because both of them went to Anora and Sean Baker. Again, we can't really use this as a gauge for what may happen at the Academy Awards. Take that out of the equation altogether. But I think what it can tell us is maybe what they voted for or what the likelihood that they may have voted for Anora, because the love for that film seems to be real in the industry. It's literally the most independent of award shows while still having a little bit of glamour to it. That's why I love these so much. It's under a giant tent on the beach in Santa Monica, and it just seems very laid back, very chill, but it has that kind of hint of elegance at the same time. When it comes to Anora, you're looking at WGA for Screenplay. You're looking at DGA for Director Sean Baker. PGA for Producers from the Producers Guild. Mikey Madison won the British Academy's Award for Actress for Anora. And on this night, for the Spirit Awards, we got awards for Anora in Feature, Baker and Director, and yes, Mikey Madison again for Lead Actress.
Best Lead Performance, Mikey Madison for Anora!
Actually, at the Spirit Awards, it's just a lead performance. They group all of the sexes together. It's not gender-based. And she still was able to pull out a victory here, which I think is important. I hope he's okay with me saying this, but a buddy of mine, Matt Neglia, from Next Best Picture, put on Twitter, who was at the ceremony, that the loudest reception in the room was when Anora would win an award. And when Sean Baker was giving his very pivotal speech about filmmaking and independent filmmaking and how it's not lucrative enough for independent filmmakers to continue to do what they're doing and still be able to feed their family, essentially. And he kind of is trying to bring a lot of that to light.
Great. If you are a writer-director trying to break in right now, there's a good chance you're making a film for free or making next to nothing on production or sale. How do you support yourself with little or no income for 3 years? Let's say you're lucky enough to be with the guilds. Take the DGA and WGA minimums and then divide them by 3. Take out taxes and possibly percentages that you owe your agents, managers, and lawyers. And what are you left with? It's just simply not enough to get by on in today's world.
So I think regardless of the wins and chalking them up to what they may mean for the Oscars, what we can do is we could be solidified in the fact that we think Anora is strong. The industry loves Anora. The only body that has really not awarded Anora in one way or the other is the Golden Globes. Everybody else, at least from a televised standpoint, has given Anora something. And in most cases, it's given Anora top prizes, whether that be director, movie, or leading actress. Now, what I'm going to tell you, and I already made my predictions for the Screen Actors Guild Awards, which are about 24 hours from right now, I'll put a tag up here for you so you could check my receipts. Anora, I had picked to win Best Ensemble at the SAGs, which is usually a really big precursor win. Even with the schedule being thrown off with voting, like I said, you can still take into account the support at this body versus the Academy is going to be somewhat similar. So I said on that video a few days ago that Anora was my pick for Ensemble. And after seeing the reception for that film and reading some tweets, like I mentioned, my buddy Matt's and some others that were there, Clayton Davis, etc., I am now beyond confident that it's going to win Ensemble at the SAGs. I'll just say if it doesn't, I would be surprised. I'm not going to say I would be shocked, but I would be surprised based on this current steady, consistent momentum for that film and the support that we've seen from the industry specifically. And not only that, the Film Independent, I'm a member of the Film Independent. I voted on these awards. So these wins for Anora, while a lot of the members for the Film Independent aren't necessarily the general public like me, there's a lot of people in the industry that are in that organization as well, but there's also members of the general public. So that amalgamation of folks still lifted up this movie, Anora. It is a well-loved movie. You can look on Rotten Tomatoes for a basic snapshot of the film and how highly it's regarded, not only by critics, but by general audiences. And across the board, 9 out of every 10 people that you talk to are going to tell you that Anora is one of the best movies of the year. And we're seeing the results of that on the award circuit. I'm going to do my predictions at the end of this week. Probably on Thursday, I'll have those for you, my final predictions for the Academy Award winners. And right now, I have Anora winning 3 major awards, which would be Picture, Director, and Screenplay. And then I have Mikey Madison as the 4th big award for Lead Actress right now. Now, those predictions aren't finalized yet, but I'm feeling really, really good about it when stuff like what happened tonight happens at the Spirit Awards. Aside from the Anora domination that kind of continued here, I loved the amount of adoration that was rained down on a little film called Didi. I do my own movie awards, which I'll put a tag on this video for that for you as well, because we just had those back this past Wednesday night. They're called the Golden Peas, and I let the fans vote on those awards. All my followers, listeners of my podcast, etc., and they voted Didi as the best comedy by a pretty substantial margin. And it is a purely independent film that Sean Wang, the filmmaker, he won Best First Feature for this film. He won Best First Screenplay for the film. And there was a lot of love for Didi in that room. And not only that, it was lifting up a story of that Asian American community that is not represented enough, period, in movies, but definitely not represented in those like coming of age comedies. Didi is a Asian American story and a coming of age story, a young boy who I think is like 13 in the film, Chris, who is played brilliantly by Isaac Wang, by the way. But it's like rooted in that kind of like super bad, raunchy humor, but it has such a element of emotionality under the surface. And it also has these subplots that tie into what you would think a 13 and 14-year-old boy, the dick jokes that they would make, with their kids in middle and high school. But it has that underlying layer of the mother-son connection, single mother, by the way, played brilliantly by Joan Chen and her connection to her son, and obviously wanting to do the best for her children. And it's just such a wonderful mix of all these different kind of genres of film that come together. It's quite funny, it's quite touching, and I loved seeing the accolades that it received at the Spirit Awards night, because frankly, it's not going to get love really anywhere else on the circuit this year. And not only that, I hope more people will now seek it out as it is on demand. I think it's actually streaming on Peacock right now, by the way. Another performance that I've been praising and lifting up for the last several months is Maisy Stella in a movie called My Old Ass. The movie actually made my top 10 of the year when I saw it on streaming on Amazon Prime. But Maisy Stella turns in such a layered girl next door performance. It is so beautiful and funny, just bitingly funny. She has that wit and charm to her throughout the whole movie that you can't help but pull for her character, while also kind of rolling your eyes at the same time, because you're thinking of a more youthful version of yourself, most likely, and the mistakes that you made in those high school years. But she won Best Breakthrough Performance here, and I predicted that to happen.
Maisy Stella, My Old Ass.
She's She's also been nominated for a similar role, breakthrough performance at other awards bodies, and has not won as of yet. So I was really happy to see her get on stage and win for this. Just a couple other ones in the film categories I want to point out before I wrap up this video. Nickel Boys finally got the recognition that it deserves for cinematography. Jomo Frey, the cinematographer for that film, won tonight at the Spirit Awards. This should be the runaway cinematography winner this season, and I'm talking about the Academy and below. I just don't fathom how that movie is not getting more love from a cinematography specific standpoint. I know it got nominated for Best Picture. I know it got Adapted Screenplay nomination, but also the win at WGA for Adapted. But the cinematography is some of the best I've seen ever, not just in 2024. And the film, the narrative of the film, I didn't connect to as much as some other folks' reviews that I've seen, but there's no refuting the beauty and the way that that film was shot. And that was a highlight for me, that we finally got some love for cinematography for Nickel Boys. A couple other interesting ones I want to point out. Flow, the animated, dialogue-free, hand-drawn international film from Latvia, won the Best International Film. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, really? It beat Emilia Perez? It beat I'm Still Here? No, it didn't, because those two were not in the group of nominees for the Spirit Awards. So calm down. But me and my son were watching this broadcast night, and I actually kind of forgot who the nominees were when they called it. And I thought to myself, I hope I'm Still Here wins this. And then as they went through the nominees, I realized it was not nominated. I'm not sure why, because I know that's Sony Pictures Classics, and it's obviously international. So I would think that would be an independent film and would be eligible. But maybe it's over a certain budget, doesn't make it in. I'm not sure what the rules there are. And then, of course, Emilia Perez is probably too big of a budget movie to get in here. Even though Netflix did have some showings on the night, but Emilia Perez was not here either. So Flow won. Another movie that was in the mix for international feature was All We Imagine Is Light, which was the first nominee that they announced in the category from India. And I was so bummed that Payal Kapadia's movie did not get more love at the Academy this year. I was thinking maybe director, maybe screenplay, maybe movie, honestly. I had it like my number 12 for Best Picture. Now, of course, I'm Still Here. I'm thrilled that that got in, but that kind of took the spot that I thought maybe All We Imagine As Light would get. And of course, India did not submit it for international at the Academy Awards, which is going to haunt me definitely for the rest of the season, but I don't know how many years that's going to haunt me, because what a race we would have in international. Can you imagine if 4 of the 5 nominees in the Academy's International were All We Imagine Is Light, I'm Still Here, Emilia Perez, and Flow? That would be a cringe-inducing prediction fest for most of us. But I was thrilled to see Flow win here. Obviously, it also has the Golden Globe under its belt. The BAFTAs went for Wild Robot. Wild Robot is probably still where I'm leaning when it comes to Best Animated. This is Best International. So it was really cool that that little Latvian, hand-drawn, dialogue-free animated film won that, because that is truly independent. I've seen videos of this dude, the filmmaker, making it in his bedroom on his laptop. And I think he made his first movie completely solo by himself. It took him like 8 years. Of course, that wasn't Flow, but it speaks to the independent nature and the creativity that this guy has. Flow is easily one of the best of the year, so I was happy to see it win here for international film. No Other Land won Best Documentary at the Spirit Awards, and it's been absent from a lot of documentary awards so far this season. It still remains the front runner for a lot of people that do Oscar predictions, myself included, although I'm starting to kind of get shaky on that a little bit. The reason it's been ranked number 1 for a lot of us is because of just how important and topical it feels right now. It feels like the most timely story that needs to be told and that the public should seek out. You would think the nomination is going to help, but definitely you would think if it wins Best Documentary at the Academy Awards, many, many more people are going to see it because of that. So because of that importance and the residual effect that could have on the viewing public, that's been a lot of our number 1's predictions. But we also haven't been able to look past the fact that up until tonight, it hasn't won anything. It keeps missing. The distribution rights are becoming an issue to get the film out. So it's been a little shaky ground, even if we're still confident in the fact that the Academy will go for it. The subject matter could be seen as divisive. I obviously don't think it should be, but it could be seen as divisive. It centers around the Palestinian and Israeli conflict that's been going on for several years. So it could be seen as a subject that maybe they just want to stay away from, which is unfortunate, and I hope that's not the case. But that could also be why it hasn't been winning. Well, tonight it finally got a statue as it won the Spirit Award for Best Documentary, which is amazing. However, the only other Oscar nominee that was in this category is a movie called Soundtrack to a Coup d'Etat, which actually have ranked at 5th right now, and I don't think it stands a chance to win the Oscar. So, in other words, there was no Academy competition in this category for No Other Land that would have given us some kind of idea if it could beat the other ones that it's up against. I mean, I just don't know that we can really take the Spirit Award win as a symbol of strength going to the Oscars for No Other Land. I just don't really know what to do with that category. I know that I want No Other Land to win and that it should win. But as we've seen from the Academy in the past, the best or the most important documentary doesn't always win. A argument could be made right now for Porcelain War, which does have some awards under its belt in the precursors. And if you're looking at it on paper, Porcelain War is probably honestly should be your number one prediction for best documentary based on what has happened thus far on the circuit. However, I think the word of mouth around No Other Land and the Spirit Awards win kind of speaks to that, because like I said, it's kind of a mix between the general public and the industry when this is Spirit Awards ballots. So I was pleasantly surprised and somewhat a little more confident when I saw No Other Land win Best Documentary tonight at the Spirit Awards. But I still don't know what the hell to do with that category. That's basically it, guys. I really like the broadcast. I like Adie Bryant. She's doing it for the second year in a row. Former SNL cast member, female comedian who's pretty funny. I love her jokes. Some of them ran a little long tonight. The bits kind of went on maybe 30 seconds longer than they should have. But she had a really funny bit where she was dressing like a sex worker, like Anora, and they had to wheel her out on like a cart because she couldn't walk in the heels. Oh, the other award I forgot to mention was Jesse Eisenberg winning for screenplay here. But do not be reactionary and do not have a recency bias when you're thinking about the Academy Awards, because there's a couple things. I do think Eisenberg in A Real Pain screenplay could be number 2 at the Academy, 2 or 3. It could be that runner-up in terms of like when the votes come in. But it is rare, like beyond rare, for a film to win original screenplay if it's not a Best Picture nominee. I don't think it's happened since they went to 10 nominees back in 2010, I think it was, or 11. So 15 years, it hasn't happened. So I'm staying away from it. I do think it's probably the number 2 though, because we see now with this, with BAFTA, we see the love in the industry for this screenplay. And it is the strongest part of the film, in my opinion, when the performances. Kieran Culkin won tonight again. I didn't even talk about that one because that was frankly the most boring thing. I was like, you got Clarence Macklin there, you got Joan Chen there from Didi, and Didi was overperforming at that point. So I thought she was going to win that because they do supporting performance, so it's men and women. Film Independent gave it to Kieran Culkin, and he wasn't even there again. I think this is the 3rd award show in a row that he has not been present to accept his award. Look, I like him. I know he's going to win the Oscar. He's sweeping. He's probably going to win tomorrow night too. But it's boring. It's just like, okay, why don't we just ship the Oscar to his house and be done with it? Because he's not going to come to the Oscars anyway, apparently. But I just wanted to mention the Jesse Eisenberg win there. I think it does show that there is a lot of push behind that. He had a wonderful speech where he basically spent like 2 minutes thanking Emma Stone. She was a producer on the film and a personal friend of his. And he just like went into this whole thing about how great of a mentor she is and a collaborator and a producer, and how she's so famous and rich, and she still takes time out to text him ideas about his screenplays and like all this stuff. It was so genuine and pure, and they cut to her and she was basically crying at his originality in the speech and like
here. And I just want to say, like, I met Emma when we were in Zombieland together in 2009, and since then, like, I write little magazine articles and little things on McSweeney's, and she's like the only person, like, I'm including my mom here, who would like take little screenshots of it over the last like 15 years and send me things like, this is such a funny line. And at the time she was like definitely, and still, like the most famous person I know, and yet also like the most dedicated to like encouraging me as a writer. And I think about her not as my producer, but like a fairy godmother, that I am like riding the coattails of her goodwill.
That was a really cool moment too, and I think that's what I'm talking about when I opened this video. I think if that had happened while voting was open for the Oscars, and he's the number 2 for original screenplay right now, if that had happened and that interaction with Emma Stone at the Spirit Awards and the Academy members saw that, that could be something that would be shifting in the race. But of course, that doesn't matter because they already voted. But I do think he's probably the number 2, but I think that original screenplay is going to go to either Fastfold and Corbet or Sean Baker. Right now, I've got Sean Baker winning it because they're nominated for picture. Even Coralie Farjak got the Best Picture nomination for The Substance. So there's 3 really strong screenplays that all have Best Picture noms. So you can't pick Jesse Eisenberg because of that reason only. Now, if he upsets and he wins, then we break that, we break that chain. That trend will break. But until it breaks, I don't know how you can go against a Best Picture nominee for your original screenplay winner if they line up. Like I said, it was a cool award show. Did you guys watch the Spirit Awards? Did you know you can stream it on YouTube now? This is like the 3rd or 4th year in a row that you can do that, which is really, really cool. Let me know what you thought of the broadcast down below. Let me know which one of these winners you like the most. Do you think any of this has anything to do with the Academy Awards? Do you put any weight on it at all? I want to know down in the comments. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys out here next time. I'll actually be doing my reaction to the Screen Actors Guild Awards tomorrow night, and I'm going to piece all my live reactions together for you and release that either late tomorrow night or early Monday morning. So look for that here on the channel. I also got my updated final power rankings coming, my final Oscar predictions that I'm going to lock in probably Thursday, and I've got some sweet collaborations coming up on the channel as well. So make sure you subscribe. I'll see you guys out here next time in the garage.